Hey guys, what's going on? It's Gunnar here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk a little bit about getting deer close within shot range when you do see them. Now, I'm standing at about a half-acre food plot right now. It's lush green with rye because I've got that top seeded as my cover crop going into the springtime and early summer here. But behind me here in this pine tree, you might not be able to see the stand itself, but you can see the tree behind me. Now, this is one of my favorite stands because it's tucked in there perfectly. It's 22, 23 feet up, and you've got all those pine boughs behind you as backdrop. It's really dark in there, so any movement is getting concealed by that darkness as well as the cover around it. You don't have any sun shining in there and lighting up your skin when you're moving, or your bow as you take it off the hanger to go shoot a deer. I really like using those shadows to my advantage, and you really get that in those big pine trees that have a lot of overhanging limbs and give you those nice dark tones and the shadows that you can conceal yourself in. But what I wanted to talk about is how to get deer close. Now, as I'm in this half-acre plot, this is a fairly substantial area that deer can come out and feed in, but I don't have a shot. Now, a comfortable shot range for me is gonna range from 33 on in. You know, I don't wanna take those long shots because the risk to reward ratio can be pretty high, especially here in Wisconsin or any of the other high pressure deer states. When you're thinking about deer jumping string or ducking your arrow, whatever that is, I don't want to take that chance a lot of the times. You know, so if I can get within that 33 on in mark, I'll take my shot. Now I want to make sure that deer's calm. But to get them into that range, I like to do a few things. Now, you can't see this, but I will show you. I've got a water hole set up right here, roughly 18 yards from the stand, perfectly broadside, and I've got it screened off, so these deer have to come in broadside to slightly quartering away. Now, that's one thing that I really like to do is you can manipulate with branches and timber. You can stack that around that water hole so these deer have to approach a specific angle. So when they do come in, you have a perfect shot. Now, that's a situation that you can take into account before that moment of truth happens. You can manipulate these deer to come in to a specific angle so you have a perfect shot. So there's no room for error when it comes to them quartering to you or coming on head on, so you don't have a shot. I'm not waiting for the deer to turn correctly. They have a perfect angle as soon as they hit that water hole. Guys, it's Gunnar. Look, a lot of you guys have been talking to me, telling me how you need help. Well, I want to talk to you today about Whitetail coaching. One-on-one virtual coaching with me. We'll go in depth on whatever problems, whatever help you need. We'll find the solution you're looking for. Shoot me a text, 608-632-7233. 608-632-7233. I got your back for life. Now let's get back to the video. So that's one of the things that I like to set up is having that water hole, having an extra draw, nice and tight within bow range. So if a deer is within this food plot, that's an extra attraction for them to, oh, I'm gonna go over to this corner, I'm gonna hit this water hole quick because there's no other water around. I'm gonna feed in this food plot for a bit, but I'm also gonna go take a drink as soon as I'm done or prior to feeding in the food plot, whatever it may be. And at the same time, it's in a line of movement from bedding, good bedding point, to food plot, water source, ag field. So I'm making all of this in a line. It's a string movement. So I'm not pulling a deer from the bedding area to a water hole over here, then to my food plot, then to the ag fields. You're creating a circus movement where you don't know where deer are gonna go. Now, if you can create that line of movement, that makes it easy for the deer to come and hit these extra attractions that you're trying to set up to pull them nice and tight to your stand location. You have to take all of that into consideration. Where are these deer coming from? Are they coming off this bedding point? How are they coming into the food plot? Where's your stand location based off of where they're coming in? How can you add other attractions to get them in tight within bow range? Spend a little time there so you have time to draw your bow, get on and make a good shot. Now, another thing that I like to set up is a mock scrape. Now, I don't like to have to maneuver around trees in my food plots when I'm doing my food plot work, seeding, roller crimping, or Colts packing, whatever it may be. So normally I'll just go and I'll cut a tree year after year after year, and I'll go and I'll dig a 3-4 foot hole, I'll stick that in there and I'll pack it in with dirt again, and that's my mock scrape. And then I'll hang either an artificial vine or a regular natural vine off of that, but that's gonna be within that 25-yard range as well. So I'm gonna stack attraction right around my stand location, within that ring of shot opportunity, that 33 yards and in. The closer the better, in my opinion. There is a fine line there when you're talking about shot opportunity. I wouldn't set a water hole at 10 yards. That's just too close, in my opinion. It's too hard to get a bow drawn back. I've killed deer at 11 yards before, and it's a nightmare. It's a mental nightmare, and just being that still, being that steady and methodical can be a very difficult thing to pull off in that moment of truth when your entire body is virtually out of control. So I like to shoot for that 22, 23, 25 yard mark and sit around there. That's the sweet spot. You got a little room between you and the deer, and you can get away with a little bit more versus 10 yards or closer. But that's a few of the things that I like to enhance within my food plots to get that bow hunting opportunity, because this is a great gun spot as well. You know, if I sat in this stand location during gun season, all of this food plot is within gun range. But at the same time, when I'm bow hunting, that doesn't do me any good because I'm limited with my range with archery tackle. So pulling these deer into that 33 yard mark and closer is a necessity. So these are a handful of the things. I'm using that mock scrape and I'm using that water hole because when a buck comes into that food plot, his end of the day goal is to feed. But if I create enough attention and attraction around this water hole and this mock scrape, I'm gonna pull him in a little tighter. He's gonna get curious. If he sees a couple does hitting this mock scrape, he's gonna get curious. He sees a couple does hit this water hole, he's gonna come over, he's gonna investigate, he's gonna wanna leave his scent on this mock scrape. Maybe he's thirsty, he's gonna hit his water necessity with that water hole. Now another thing is you wanna keep these things full. Deer drink a lot, especially in the summer months or early fall, especially in a drought year. So having a good bladder tank that you can run out with a four-wheeler quick, this is a perfect spot for me because this stand is right off the field road. Now, this is very easily accessible. All of my bedding is down on this slope. I have a lot of side cover, so me coming in here with a four-wheeler, dumping off 50, 75 gallons of water isn't the end of the world. But some of those more intrusive water holes, I would fill those up early before season so you don't have to go in there during season. If they do go dry during season, I would rather not go in there with machinery or a four-wheeler and fill up that water tank just because it's disturbing more deer than it's probably helping. So a few of the things that I like to do to pull those deer close, but remember at the end of the day, a deer's primary goals is going to be to come hit this food plot, not a mock scrape or a water hole. These are additions, these are sprinkles on the top of that cake. Their primary goal is to feed, reproduce, and stay safe at the end of the day. So when you're thinking about adding these improvements, think about that first priority. Adding a mock scrape just in the middle of the woods probably isn't gonna attract that many deer. They may hit it as they come by, but it's not gonna be an attraction that's gonna pull a deer from 600 yards out. These are just the last ditch effort. If I have a buck at 75 yards kind of hung up and he gets curious, he sees this mock scrape, that's what I'm after here. If he sees this water hole, he's thirsty. It's the last ditch effort to pull those deer closer. So if you want to improve your archery setups, maybe you have a big food plot that you're sitting over and a lot of times those deer are just squeaking by just out of range. Think about maybe adding a water hole or a mock scrape to pull those deer that extra 20 steps, that extra 30 steps. Just get them within bow range, get them doing something else. Preoccupy them with something else while you're up in the tree doing this nice and slow, getting ready to take that perfect shot. So remember this. Take it into consideration. If you got that big food plot that you need to suck those deer in a little bit closer for a good shot, think about that water hole, think about that mock scrape. This is a 75 or 100 gallon water tank that I got dug down right here. We use man-made ponds with a dozer sometimes too, but those mock scrapes are pretty easily created if you have a tree in your food plot. You just hang that limb off, or if you want to dig down 3 to 4 feet, stick a tree 3 to 4 inches in diameter, maybe a cedar tree to get those nice overhanging limbs, hanging vine off that. It all works. And I guarantee you, if you set up your stand location on that big food source and you pull them a little tighter, you're gonna have a heck of a hunt next fall.